Alright, you guys, today I'm doing just an short peach nail application on my left hand. Here I'm just buffing the nail to remove the shine, and I'm going to do that to all my other nails. As you can see, I'm rotating the fingers just to make sure that everything is completely removed around the cuticle cuticle area. I was pushing back the cuticle at that point because I didn't push it back very well. Here I just grabbed a bottle just to make it a little easier and keep my hand a little steadier. You need to make sure that you get all around the cuticle area to avoid lifting. Here I'm just changing the bit on my Eve file to something softer, and for the cuticle area I'm going back and touching up to make sure that I didn't miss anything, because this really gets up in those crevices and it makes it easier to make sure that I didn't miss a spot. I love this e-file. I got it off of I think it's called nailsuperstore.com. It is great. I honestly don't remember the price. I think it was like $2.85 or something like that, something similar to that, but it's awesome. Here I'm just picking off the excess cuticle because I haven't done my cuticles in a while, so they had a little extra. Normally I wouldn't have to do this, but when you have a little extra, it comes in handy. But you don't want to pull or damage the cuticle, so just clipping and pulling away slightly is best. Here I'm pulling out all of my tips, and I'm gonna size them on all my nails and find the perfect ones. This 8 didn't fit on any of my nails, so I went up a size, technically up a size in number, but the higher the number, the smaller it is. But the 9 was still a little bit too big for my pinky, so here I'm just filing the edges. And instead of placing them right away and then having to deal with doing this kind of like opening the bags with long, crazy nails, I just size them first and then place them down in the order. So as you can see, there was a 6 on my ring finger. I believe it was a 5 on my middle finger. I didn't show the bag. And then a 7 on my pointer finger. And I tried this 2 on my thumb, but it was a little too big, so I tried the 3. That is my artisan, I don't know how to say it. I got it off Nail Superstore also. It came in bulk, so it was super nice to get it like that. I just put a little dab, place it and hold it. This glue dries super fast, so I didn't have to hold it very long. Then I grab my pinching tool to make sure the sides are placed firmly down. I grabbed some scissors to cut because I used to have really nice tip cutters, but I opened some super glue with them one time and they broke. So I was doing what I could with what I had. I tried these nail clippers, but as you will see, they didn't work out very well. I cut this one way too short and I was very angry at it, so I took some acetone and soaked it for just a second and then slowly ripped it off. You don't want to pull too hard. If it doesn't feel like it's going to come off, don't pull it off. So I just pulled out another 6, I believe, or 7, can't remember, and glued it back on. Kind of went out of frame here, but I was just cutting it with the scissors. I'm somewhat blind, so I always ended up going out of the frame when I was doing something like this, but these came out a lot shorter than I wanted them to be, but I still love them. They turned out just great, but I wish they could have been a little longer and that I was paying attention to that, but I wasn't. I'm just cutting them all to the same length and then filing the free edge to make them straight. I'm just using a 100 grit. I don't actually know what I was doing here. I think just checking the size and to see if there's anything left or that it needed to be filed, and then I just went over with a brush to remove the dust. This is just some acetone running over to make sure that everything's clean and there's no more dust left. This is my dehydrator. I didn't show it, but it is I didn't show it at first, but I am going to show it. It is the Artesian. I got it from Nail Superstore. It's really nice. There it is. And then this is the primer that I also got from Nail Superstore. I don't like this one. It kind of has a weird smell to it, and it stings really bad. That's what I was doing there. But I put 2 coats, and yeah, if you have any sort of like little nick on your hand, it just stings. That's my brush. It's a size 16, I believe. I got it from Nail Superstore. Those are the ASP products, liquid, monomer, and pink acrylic powder. As you saw, the brush, like the handle keeps the brush tip in it from getting dirty, but I ended up after this wiping it off because there was just some leftover monomer from my last bit that I didn't clean. I'm just getting all the air bubbles, making sure that there's no leftover acrylics. Sometimes that happens where it dries. Here I'm getting a medium-sized bead, and I just put it on where the tip meets the nail to give it some structure, and I'm just patting it away. There's always hairs. And again, a medium-sized bead, and I dropped it, per usual. That's why I keep another paper towel instead of just having the one. I like to keep one other one because I always drop them. Just making sure that it's flush to the cuticle, but not touching a cuticle. And this is just touching up where it's small amounts. And it looked like I didn't have enough on the tip, so I just put a little bit more on the tip to make it all even and structured. This one I've got a larger bead. I was doing the 1 bead method, which I prefer. it just doesn't give you as much structure, so I tend to try to fray from it, but it's so much easier and it's so much quicker. So I was doing that here, and you will eventually see that this was the nail that was the easiest. All my other nails just were having problems. I don't know why. Here I got a small to medium sized ball, and I thought to put it on the cuticle instead first and then try the one bead method, but this nail was atrocious and everything I was trying to do on it was going wrong. So bear with me while watching this. This bead was crazy runny, it wasn't going where I wanted it to, it ended up not covering the whole nail. I wish I could have done the middle finger differently, but it ended up turning out fine after filing. It's just I wanted to keep the filing to a minimal, but that didn't happen. As you can see, I was just having a nightmare of a time with this nail. Moving on to the ring finger, I started out with a medium bead. I was going to do the one ball method on this finger, but it ended up being too thin. So as you can see, I took the liquid out of the back of that bead so that it wasn't so wet, because I needed a little bit more structure. Here I got a large bead for my pinky so that I could do the one bead method. One bead, one ball, whatever you want to call it. I'm always going out of frame, per usual. Especially with my pinky, it's harder to see for me. I think there was a sparse area that I was just putting a little bit more on. I put my stuff away. I cleaned out my brush to make sure that there's no leftover acrylic, and I was doing that so that it would fit in the brush, and I put it all to the side so that I can start filing. Actually start pinching. I ended up only pinching 2 of the nails because I wasn't paying attention while I was doing it. I sped it up because I was waiting for it to set so that I could put the pincher on it. And again, I sped it up just because you didn't need to watch me sit there with the pincher on it for so long. So when I'm filing, I use the 180, or excuse me, the 100 side of the file, and I go on the sides to make sure that there's nothing going over onto the skin because we don't want to have any lifting. And again, I go on the cuticle also because you don't want any lifting. You want to make sure that it's all flush and it's on just your nail. And then I'll do the free edge to make sure it's straight. I don't know what happened to the filing of the pointer finger. I must have cut it out. But it's the same with all the fingers. You just, the sides, cuticle, free edge, and then just make sure that it's all in shape and perfect down the middle. I think I had a little bit of stuff sticking there, so I just clipped it off instead of trying to get under there and file it. I tend to not get my e-file out while filing if it's not too bad of a job. If I was just having a bad day and it's kind of lumpy and things are not going right, then I normally take out the e-file to take down the bulk of it, but these nails turned out pretty fine and pretty smooth. So it was pretty easy to file them, and I didn't want to have to go through the hassle of setting that up, so. Here I was having a little trouble getting a grip on my pinky, but grabbing just a round cylinder shaped object is really nice to just get where you can't get on the nail, and it helps control it and keep it where you want it. Now I'm just going back and making sure everything looks good. I'm going to take a buffer to smooth things out. I love the pink ones rather than the boring white ones. I'm always going out of frame, but here I accidentally cut my finger. I'm taking out my LED light, and this is where it gets kind of confusing. So I put down a gel top coat because I was putting down another color and I just wanted to make sure that everything was just sealed. So the color that I decided to put down I thought was a gel color. Find out after putting it in the lamp and it not curing, it's not a gel color, and it was this awful color, like awful brand. It was like the Orly Epix or something like that. I don't remember the name. I'll put in a little thing, but it was awful and just streaky, and I absolutely hated it. So the footage you're about to see is the next day. I am taking off that color that I just didn't like. So that's why I just skipped ahead and oh boom, I had color on my hand. No, this is the next day, and I'm taking off the color because it was just so ugly and not how I wanted it to turn out. I had gone to Sally's and I picked out a color that was very similar because I really do like the color, but I don't like the nail polish itself. It's a really awful oily like consistency, and so I'm just taking it off here. That's just acetone in a pump bottle. I love these pump bottles. You can get them at a dollar store. That's at least where I got mine, and they help so much. I bought 2 colors, but one of them was a little bit more peachy. This one has kind of more of a pink tone, and that's what I was going for. It is lighter. I did have to do 3 coats, but it turned out way better, and it's exactly how I wanted it to be. That lamp is just the sensational lamp you can get at Walmart. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's only like $13. I've never had a problem with it. I did lose the cord, so the cord that I'm using goes to something else, but it works. And it's an amazing lamp for the price. So I put it in for 30 seconds just to set it, my thumb and my hands, or the rest of my fingers, just to set it so that I can start another coat. I wasn't going to put it in for a minute, then do another coat, then a minute, then another coat. I would have been there all day. I love this brand because it has a smaller brush, so it makes it easier to where you aren't just getting messy all the time, getting it all over your cuticles. I just love the brush and I love the brand. It's such an amazing brand. I will leave a link down below. Here I'm putting it in for another 30 seconds, and my thumb too, and I put down another paper towel because there was some shaving or some dust from filing. Putting on my last coat here. And I put it in for a whole minute on my thumb because it's the last coat, and then I did the rest of my fingers. And I got a little messy on it, so I took my brush. I have just like this crappy little old makeup brush that I use, and I put some acetone in a thing. I don't know why I did this when I could have just used my pump bottle, but you know. So I'm just cleaning up just the little messes that I made on this coat because all the other coats were pretty okay. I put it in the lamp for an entire minute. Here I'm getting the sparklies that I'm going to put on my ring finger as an accent nail. This is actually just eyeshadow and a makeup brush. It works really well. It looks amazing. It gives you a really nice sparkle, and because I was using a gel top coat, it had that sticky layer, so the sparkles just stuck to it. But yes, it's by Naked Cosmetics, and I was showing you that the brush is by Coastal Scents. Here I was taking acetone and wiping off the sticky layer because I had accidentally got a couple hairs on them. You don't have to wipe off the sticky layer before you put on a top coat, but I did just because I got hairs on them, so I just wiped them off. And actually that nail polish ended up being matte, but I put a shiny top coat on it, so it made it shiny. And I'm just putting it in the lamp for a whole minute, and my thumb too. And again, I'm going to take off the sticky layer from the top coat, and that'll be your finished product. Thanks for watching, you guys.